In the NBA, the Utah Jazz may be on the move. Where are they going? And is it going to happen?
If you are part of the 95% of our audience that is not subscribed, please consider doing so. Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and move into a little bit about the Utah Jazz, shall we?
Absolutely.
The Jazz are currently celebrating 50 years as a franchise.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, and they celebrated by losing by 50 points to the Dallas Mavericks when we were last recording last week.
Yep, that was painful.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about how your Jazz are performing so far?
The Jazz have looked really, really rough, man. I was just talking to one of my buddies about this today. I feel like they can't find a groove offensively or defensively, and they just look terrible.
Yeah.
I sincerely don't think it's coaching. I feel like it's the mojo on the team just hasn't evolved enough yet for them to actually make winning plays as a team.
Let me first mention the best part about last week when we lost by 50 points is we got to see a new side to our head coach that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And the quote says, "That was a masterpiece of dog." I love that we have that kind of coach. He is in a development type team right now, but he doesn't want their efforts to be fruitless. So he knows that he's putting them out there to try and win every game. He believes they can win every game. Yeah, they have played bad. I think it's a combination of two things. One, no Mike Conley. I think that's the biggest piece.
Floor general that can shoot the ball and pass the ball to anybody, and when they're open and make good decisions and take care of the basketball. Yeah, we're definitely missing that guy.
Yeah, and I think he was the main reason why they started off so hot last year.
It was 100% the reason they started off so hot.
Right after the trade, they were one of the worst teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
And for the rest of the season.
And then to start this year, they're one of the worst teams in the NBA.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you and I both thought that they're going to be a playoff team coming into this because we thought we'd see people step up.
Don't go back and watch that video. We missed that one by a touch.
Yeah. Well, we thought Jordan Clarkson was going to come in and be his usual self. He's having a terrible year. He's out with injury right now.
Yep. For another 2 weeks. Yep.
Larry Markkinen went down for several weeks and he was out.
Killing us.
Walker Kessler went out like literally right after game one. And he was supposed to be coming back and having a breakout year, but because of early injuries, that kind of sidelined them. And, you know, THT and Chris Dunn and all of them are definitely underperforming for what we thought they were going to be. Not to mention John Collins. You know, we were really excited about that trade.
Yeah.
But, you know, he hasn't really panned out the way I was expecting him to.
I think John Collins is performing statistically. He doesn't look bad at all on paper, but the problem is he's not actually helping the team win. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's close to averaging a double-double. He looks okay in every single game you watch him in. He does great at offensive rebounds. The team's not winning because of John Collins' performance, and that's the issue.
No, I'd have to agree with you on that. So we did talk a little about this last week, but we definitely want to bring it back a little bit because more has come out on this. But Sports Illustrated did report last week that the Lakers are closely watching the Jazz situation to see if they become early sellers at the deadline. Do you see this team finishing out this year prior to the deadline being one of the bottom 3 or 4 teams in the West? And should they move on from some of these assets?
Yes, I see them finishing in the bottom 4. I'm not sure if they're going to make the play-in. I do think that they're close enough that one piece could get them close to where they want to be and make the play-in. You know what I mean? Just the play-in, right? But I do see them moving away, probably getting rid of Sexton or THT. Maybe even a Jordan Clarkson, whether it's for assets for this, upcoming off season or whatever route that they decide to go. But I don't see this team making it all the way through the year, that's for sure.
And this is something that was posed by Spence Checkers on ESPN The Drive on an afternoon show. I mean, I personally have the belief that Danny Ainge would trade his mother for 3 first-round draft picks. Do you see it? There's a chance that with the Jazz being where they are right now, they're definitely in rebuild mode.
Right.
Do you see any chance that Danny Ainge might potentially consider trading one of the most valuable assets this team has right now, which is Larry Markkinen?
I thought you were going to say his mother. I was like, I haven't seen her play, but I mean, if they're going to give 3 first-round picks for her, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, he's an all-star making $17 million a year.
Moving Lauri Markkinen?
Yeah,
no,
that's a gorgeous contract. That would be, you can get
not a chance. Lauri Markkinen likes it here. The Jazz like what they have in Lauri Markkinen. He's the hardest asset on this team to replace because he's 7 foot tall. He can score it. He rebounds it. He loves living in Utah, and he's coachable. He's getting better. I don't think Lauri's anywhere near his ceiling. Right. Like, I think he's got a lot of room to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't see them moving. I think he's one of the untouchables.
I say there's only 3 players that are untouchable on this team.
Okay.
And honestly, even the untouchables, I can definitely see Danny Ainge moving. I don't think there's anybody on this team that is really untouchable for Danny Ainge, but it would be Keontae George, Larry Markkinen, and Walker Kessler. I think those are the 3 immovable objects for this team. I think they're using those 3 to build around. Now we're going to have to pay Larry Markkinen next year.
Yep.
So when you're in a potential long-term rebuild where it might be 2, 3, maybe even 4 years before you're contending,
I don't think the Jazz are looking to be a 2 or 3 year rebuild. And I think they have enough assets that they could probably fast track the rebuild a little bit. if that's the direction that they choose to go. What they've got to figure out this season are which pieces do they want in the rebuild for next season, right?
Right.
So once you get Lowry, okay, now we've identified Lowry's a guy moving forward. Keontae George is a guy moving forward. Walker Kessler's a guy moving forward. Who are the other two guys?
And are they on the team now? I would say no.
Are they on the team now? Well, I mean, Ochai's a guy. I mean, even if he's a bench guy, right? You got to start plugging guys into all these bench locations, all of these, deep bench locations. Do we have guys that continue to add value to the team every time they step out there? I think we have quite a few of those pieces. I just don't think we have quite the starting lineup yet. Mm-hmm. Quite a lineup that we can rely on everyone to continue to win. And once we find that, if Danny Ainge, move a few pieces to get there, I don't think there's any doubt that he moves them to get there to, again, fast track the rebuild so that we can be successful next year.
Yeah, I hope you're right, but I just want to err again on the side of caution here. This is Danny Ainge we're talking about. That Boston Celtics rebuild was not a fast one. And granted, he did not have a Donovan Mitchell and a Rudy Gobert type trade coming his way. So that may have fast-tracked things a little bit.
It took him 3 years to build the assets he got from the Rudy and Donovan trades.
The Utah fans were spoiled, man. I mean, we're not used to a long rebuild. We're used to one bad season, then we're potentially getting a playoff position the next year. I honestly think that this one might take a little longer.
What's crazy is we're not that far from being one of the best teams in the NBA with one of the best offenses and one of the best defenses, anchored by Rudy Gobert, and our offense anchored by Donovan Mitchell. That's only 3 years ago, man. The best regular season record. We were the number 1 seed going into the playoffs.
Yeah, but anybody watching that team knew that they weren't going to get out of the second round, man. They were not going to compete for a conference championship. If you watch those guys play together, they were not in it together.
I disagree. They all were going to win. And I wanted that Jazz team to win so bad.
If Conley couldn't keep those guys playing together, and even Quinn Snyder's like, dude, I'm out. You know? I didn't care that they had the best seed in the West. They weren't going anywhere. You can just see that the last 20 games of how they played together. And the guy wouldn't even pass to Rudy, man. By the way, the rest of the league owes Rudy Gobert a freaking apology. That guy is balling out on one of the best teams.
I also owe Rudy an apology. I think one of my comments was that I don't think that Rudy and Cat can play together. They can.
Yeah, they could play together.
Yeah, they can.
I think Cat loves it. Like, dude, I can get it. He's like, I can just, if I don't have a shot, I can just dump it in because nobody's paying attention to Rudy in the post. I mean, that's the same thing that I felt that the Jazz were missing is they did not realize how often Rudy was open in the post. But moving on from how bad they're playing this year, let's talk about the stuff that came up recently in the news.
Yeah.
Now, this was reported by Andy Larson of the Salt Lake Tribune. Couldn't read the full article because, believe it or not, the Salt Lake Tribune wants you to pay for the newspaper to read their article online. So
ridiculous.
He said it is reported, and I'm paraphrasing based off of what I read off of KSL sports.com. He stated that Jazz ownership met with the Point of the Mountain leaders about a year ago in regards to potentially moving the Utah Jazz to Draper, away from downtown Salt Lake to basically a little prison location. Go ahead and give me what you think about it.
I think it's a horrendous idea.
Yeah.
I think it's an absolute horrendous idea because not only do you have to build a stadium that can suit an NBA team and an NHL team, you also have to support, you have to put in a whole parking system, a whole restaurant system that is going to support people half the season. You're going to have this problem with this arena that is on the southern part of the valley. We already have people struggling to come to Salt Lake City just based on there's no nightlife. It's not, close enough to anything. Now you're going to put it 10, 12 miles south in the middle of a suburban neighborhood.
Yeah, they're not going to be a Grand America going out in Draper.
If it was at the prison location, it would literally be in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
There's nothing there. It's a freeway and there's houses. There's an IKEA.
Yeah, there'd have to be some development. That's a whole, they're going to go with the whole concept of the break not the break. What's it called down in Atlanta? The Battery. They basically have this whole thing down there where they have a bunch of restaurants, a bunch of condos, a bunch of a whole bunch of stuff going on down there. There's a theater, and they really kind of build that out to be like a spot. But again, it's not in downtown Atlanta. Former Trib writer Chris Camrani stated that it would be a drastic mistake for a plethora of reasons, citing that the most teams in the West have always kept themselves in the epicenter of the culture, and the Jazz epicenter in Utah is going to be Salt Lake City downtown. I think this article was no offense to Andy Larson of the Trib, but I think this whole article was a clickbait article.
I actually totally agree because it's like they met a year ago.
They met about a year ago. They met at the Point of the Mountain. The SCG met down there. The ownership of the Jazz met down there. You know why they met down there? because they were picking out a potential site for a hockey team if they brought an NHL team down here.
Yeah.
I think that's all it is. They're not going to plan on moving the Jazz from downtown Salt Lake. And if they are, it's just a way to give themselves leverage for better tax rates or something like that, or maybe some public funds to revamp the Delta Center a little bit more around the surrounding areas. It's probably just a play if they do even mention the Jazz at all. I think that the whole meeting down there was solely not for the Jazz, but to solely figure out a way to bring an NHL team to Salt Lake. I think that's the only reason why it was even discussed. What do you think?
I think the whole ploy was just to potentially look at a site in case they wanted an NHL team in Salt Lake City. They've got to have another place. They just moved the bees down to Daybreak.
Yeah, that one else too.
So would I love having the Jazz in Draper? Yeah, that's 10 minutes closer to my house.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I'm sure it'd be state of the art. It'd be nice facilities. There'd be tons of food. There'd be tons of parking. It'd be great. But that's not what Jazz basketball is.
Well, think about this. I mean, you got the Utah Jazz downtown Salt Lake City. They just renamed it the Delta Center. They're not going to take away from that nostalgia and dump a team in Draper in 3 years.
It defeats the whole purpose.
I mean, their team is kind of crap right now, but they still have people going to the arena. They still have people signing up for this Jazz Plus thing.
Tickets are getting cheap too.
And tickets are going to get, I mean, right now they're not great, but eventually we're going to get to the point where you can sit in the lower bowl for less than $100 a seat. So that'd be great. But I just see this. I mean, if you think about it this way, you got the Jazz downtown. You got an NHL expansion team in Draper. You got the Bees. I'd say it's on the border between South Jordan and Riverton Harriman area where they have it.
Yeah, you're right.
Location.
You're right.
And then you also have the Major League Baseball team in the Power District out there at the fairgrounds.
It's all over the place.
So that's 4 points, man. You got the whole valley covered. And I just think that's basically what they were trying to do. And I think it's perfect. And honestly, I just really hope this whole NHL thing doesn't stop the Utah from making a baseball team. And that's just basically my main thing.
I would much rather have an MLB team than an NHL team.
I'd rather have a baseball team. No offense, but I don't know. Let us know what you think, folks, down in the comments down below. Let us know if you think that this is a real threat, if they're going to move the Jazz away from downtown, or is this just a ploy to get more state funds and, potentially just look for an NHL team down south. Let's say let us know if you agree with us there. All right, folks. Well, once again, thank you all for turning in here. Keep in mind, folks, this is a podcast. So if you're watching this on YouTube and one of our shorter videos that we put out on YouTube, the full video is available in its entirety on everything we talked about underneath our playlist labeled podcast. It's also available wherever you get your podcasts.
Yep. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like it, make sure you share it, make sure you subscribe. We appreciate all the engagement. This last couple of weeks has been fantastic. It's been super fun. You guys have been awesome.
With all that said, folks, once again, thank you all for tuning in. My name is Darren. That is AJ. And this has been the DNA Sports Recap.
Till next time.